Why does solitude strike such fear in your heart, as if being alone were a sentence to emptiness or despair? Yet why do some of your deepest moments of clarity, strength, and purpose arise in quiet moments when no one else is around? Carl Jung, the visionary who plumbed the depths of the human psyche, saw solitude not as a punishment, but as a crucible for transformation. A sacred space where you confront your inner self and emerge invincible. For Jung, mastering solitude meant embracing the journey of individuation, integrating the shadow, and discovering the authentic self beneath society's noise. Far from isolation, solitude is the forge where you craft unshakable inner strength. Today, we embark on an expansive odyssey through Jung's lens to uncover why solitude is your greatest ally in becoming invincible. We'll explore 4 pillars that reveal the fears and illusions that make solitude daunting, then forge 4 transformative tactics to master it, turning aloneness into a source of power and self-discovery. This is not a call to shun connection, but a map to harness solitude's potential to make you whole, resilient, and unshakable. Prepare yourself. Jung's wisdom demands courage to face the silence within and discover the invincible self waiting there. The first illusion is that solitude equals loneliness, a void that threatens your sense of worth or belonging. Jung taught that solitude is not isolation, but a deliberate encounter with the self, a vital step in individuation, the process of becoming whole by integrating all parts of your psyche. Loneliness arises when you flee this encounter, seeking external validation to fill an inner void. Modern psychology, like John Cacioppo's work on loneliness, shows that it's not solitude itself, but the fear of disconnection that breeds distress. Neuroscience, such as Lisa Feldman Barrett's research, reveals that emotions like loneliness are constructed from social narratives, not inherent to being alone. In ancient Greece, the philosopher Heraclitus chose solitude in the mountains, finding clarity in his maxim, "You cannot step into the same river twice," his aloneness fueling insights into life's flux. In the 19th century, Emily Dickinson embraced solitude, her reclusive life birthing poetry that captured the soul's depths. Today, you feel this fear when you avoid solitude, scrolling social media to escape silence, or when you equate being alone with being less than. At work, you might dread solitary tasks, fearing they signal exclusion, missing their potential for focus. To break free, reframe solitude as a choice. Journal 3 moments when being alone felt enriching, like reading or reflecting, and note how they differ from loneliness. Spend 10 minutes daily in intentional solitude, free from distractions, and ask, what does my inner self want to say? Notice how this shifts your perception of aloneness from a void to a space of possibility, grounding you in your own presence. But solitude isn't just feared as loneliness. It's avoided because it forces you to face your shadow, the repressed parts of yourself you'd rather not see. Jung taught that the shadow contains hidden emotions, anger, shame, or unacknowledged desires that surface in solitude, demanding integration. Avoiding them fuels anxiety, making solitude feel like a battleground. Robert A. Johnson's Jungian work shows that confronting the shadow in solitude reduces inner conflict, while Joseph Ledoux's neuroscience research suggests that unprocessed emotions heighten amygdala activity, amplifying fear of aloneness. In Norse mythology, Odin's solitary quest for wisdom, hanging on the world tree, forced him to face his shadow, fear, doubt, mortality, emerging with runes that symbolized his invincible insight. In the 20th century, Virginia Woolf embraced solitude to confront her inner turmoil, her novels like Mrs. Dalloway weaving shadow emotions into art. Today, you avoid solitude when you distract yourself with noise, music, TV, or social media, fearing the guilt or sadness that arises when alone. In relationships, you might cling to others to avoid facing insecurities that surface in quiet moments. To confront this, enter solitude deliberately. Spend 15 minutes alone reflecting on a shadow emotion like resentment or fear, and journal its roots, perhaps a past failure or rejection. Express it safely, through writing or drawing, and notice how facing it in solitude reduces its power, making you stronger, not weaker, in your aloneness. Solitude is also daunting because it strips away the persona, the social mask you wear to meet external expectations, leaving you vulnerable to your authentic self. Jung saw the persona as necessary but limiting. Over-identifying with it disconnects you from your inner truth, making solitude feel like a loss of identity. Daniel Goleman's emotional intelligence research shows that aligning with your authentic self reduces stress, while Daniel Siegel's neuroscience studies suggest that suppressing your true self disrupts brain coherence, fueling discomfort in solitude. In Christian mythology, Jesus' 40 days in the desert stripped away his public role, forcing him to face his inner doubts and temptations, emerging with unshakable purpose. In the 18th century, Jean-Jacques Rousseau sought solitude in nature, his reveries of the solitary walker reflecting a confrontation with his authentic self beyond society's demands. Today, you fear solitude when you rely on social validation, like likes on Instagram, to define your worth, dreading the silence that reveals your unfiltered self. At work, you might avoid alone time, fearing it exposes weaknesses, like not being productive enough. To counter this, embrace solitude as a space to meet your true self. List 3 aspects of your persona, like always cheerful or perfect professional, and question how they hide your authenticity. Spend 20 minutes alone exploring a personal value, like creativity or honesty, through a solo activity like writing or meditation, and note how it strengthens your sense of self, making solitude a source of invincibility. Finally, solitude feels threatening because it challenges the illusion of external salvation, the belief that others or achievements will complete you. Jung taught that true strength comes from within, through individuation, not from external fixes. Viktor Frankl's logotherapy shows that meaning arises from inner purpose, not outer validation, while Norman Doidge's neuroplasticity research confirms that self-directed growth rewires the brain for resilience. In Hindu mythology, Arjuna's solitary reflection in the Bhagavad Gita, guided by Krishna, reveals his inner duty, freeing him from reliance on external approval. In the 20th century, Nelson Mandela's 27 years in solitary confinement forged an invincible spirit, his inner resolve shaping his legacy. Today, you seek salvation in relationships, hoping a partner will fix your insecurities, or in social media, chasing likes to feel whole, only to find solitude exposes the void within. At work, you might over-rely on team approval, avoiding solo tasks that could build confidence. To shift this, see solitude as a path to inner strength. Reflect on a time you relied on others for validation, like seeking praise, and ask what inner need it masked. Spend 30 minutes weekly in solitude pursuing a personal goal, like learning a skill or journaling your purpose, and notice how it builds self-reliance, transforming solitude into a fortress of invincibility. You now see the trap of fearing solitude. It's mistaken for loneliness, as Heraclitus and Dickinson showed. It forces you to face your shadow, as Odin and Wolfe revealed. It strips your persona, as Jesus and Rousseau exposed. And it challenges external salvation, as Arjuna and Mandela learned. But this is only the beginning. Jung's wisdom offers a path to master solitude, turning it from a fear into a source of unshakable strength. The first step is to embrace solitude as a sacred space for self-discovery, not a void to flee. Jung saw solitude as the crucible for individuation, where you meet your inner self without distraction. Carl Rogers' person-centered therapy shows that self-acceptance in solitude fosters clarity, while Richard Davidson's neuroscience research confirms that mindful solitude calms the brain's stress circuits, enhancing resilience. In the 19th century, Henry David Thoreau embraced solitude at Walden Pond, his reflections in Walden uncovering a deeper connection to self and nature. In your life, treat solitude as a deliberate act. Set aside 20 minutes daily to sit quietly, free from devices, and ask, "Who am I beneath my roles?" Journal what arises, like a forgotten passion or hidden fear, and notice how it grounds you. On social media, share a reflection on a solitary moment, like a walk that sparked insight, to inspire others. Take one action, like reading a meaningful book alone, to deepen your relationship with yourself, seeing solitude as a sacred ally, not an enemy. Next, confront your shadow in solitude to unlock its transformative power. Jung taught that the shadow holds repressed emotions and strengths that, when faced, fuel growth. Marie-Louise von Franz's Jungian work shows that integrating the shadow reduces inner conflict, while Daniel Siegel's neuroscience research suggests that processing emotions in solitude strengthens brain coherence. In Greek mythology, Athena, born from Zeus's head, confronts her shadow, pride, aggression in solitary reflection, emerging as a goddess of wisdom and strategy. In the 20th century, Frida Kahlo used solitude to face her pain and anger, channeling them into paintings that radiated strength. In your life, if you avoid solitude fearing emotions like guilt or sadness, dedicate 30 minutes weekly to journal a shadow trait, like resentment, exploring its roots in a past slight or failure. Express it through a creative outlet, like poetry or sketching, and channel its energy into a bold action, like addressing a conflict. On social media, share a story of facing a shadow emotion, like overcoming envy, to connect authentically. Notice how confronting your shadow in solitude builds inner strength, making you invincible against self-doubt. You must also shed the persona in solitude to connect with your authentic self. Jung saw solitude as a space to drop the social mask, revealing the truth beneath. Daniel Goleman's emotional intelligence research shows that authenticity reduces stress, while Andrew Huberman's neuroscience studies confirm that aligning with your true self calms the brain's stress response. In Buddhist mythology, the Buddha's solitary meditation under the Bodhi tree stripped away his princely persona, revealing his enlightened self. In the 20th century, Maya Angelou used solitude to shed her public roles. Her memoirs like I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings born from confronting her authentic pain and joy. In your life, if you cling to a persona, like always successful, use solitude to explore who you are without it. Spend 30 minutes weekly reflecting on a value, like compassion, through writing or meditation. On social media, post about dropping a mask, like admitting a vulnerability, to inspire authenticity. List 3 persona traits you uphold, like never weak, and challenge one by acting authentically, such as admitting a mistake at work, noticing how solitude reveals an invincible core. Finally, build inner strength in solitude to rely on yourself, not external salvation. Jung taught that individuation creates a self-sufficient psyche, unshaken by external validation. Viktor Frankl's logotherapy shows that inner purpose fosters resilience, while Norman Doidge's neuroplasticity research confirms that self-directed growth strengthens neural pathways. In Chinese mythology, Laozi's solitary retreats inspired the Tao Te Ching, his inner strength shaping timeless wisdom. In modern times, Malala Yousafzai's solitary reflection during recovery fueled her invincible advocacy for education. In your life, if you seek validation from others, like a partner's approval, use solitude to build self-reliance, dedicating an hour weekly to a personal goal, like learning a skill or writing a journal. On social media, share a story of self-driven achievement, like mastering a hobby, to inspire others. Reflect on a time you relied on external validation, ask what inner strength it masked, and take one self-reliant action, like pursuing a dream alone, noticing how solitude forges an unshakable spirit. You now hold Jung's map to master solitude and become invincible. It's feared as loneliness, as Heraclitus and Dickinson showed. It forces you to face the shadow, as Odin and Wolfe revealed. It strips the persona, as Jesus and Angelo exposed. And it challenges external salvation, as Arjuna, Mandela, and Laozi learned. Through Jung's tactics, you can embrace solitude as sacred, like Thoreau's Walden. Confront your shadow, like Athena and Kahlo. Shed the persona, like the Buddha and Angelo. And build inner strength, like Laozi and Yousafzai. These 8 principles weave a system, a diagnosis of solitude's fears and a path to harness its power. But a warning: this knowledge is a flame, capable of illuminating or burning if misused. Use it to face your inner self, forge resilience, and live authentically. True invincibility lies not in escaping solitude, but in mastering it as a crucible for wholeness. In the comments, share which principle feels hardest to apply and why. If this journey through Jung's wisdom resonates, subscribe to keep exploring the psyche's depths. And if this truth sparks something in you, your like signals it must reach more hearts.